Today we're going to bring up a little of that SWAC history about Medgar Wiley Evers. Hopefully get Alcorn State and others to release more information about the history and impact he had on the generation. Let me first start off by saying there is nothing I can do. There is no way I can give justice by any words that I say to the pillar that was Medgar Evers. Medgar Evers was a civil rights activist, was the first state field secretary of the NAACP in Mississippi. As such, he organized voter registration efforts, economic boycotts, investigated crimes perpetrated against black people. He was assassinated outside of his Mississippi home in 1963. After years of on again, off again legal proceedings, his killer finally went to jail in 1994. In 2017, President Barack Obama designated Evers' home a National Historical Landmark. Medgar Wiley Evers was originally born in July 2nd, 1925 in Decatur, Mississippi. Growing up in Mississippi farming family, Edgar was drafted into the U.S. Army in 1943. Now that's controversy because people really think he went himself. Wasn't drafted, he wanted to go. He fought in both France and Germany during World War II. Received the honorable discharge in 1946. He went on to say, fighting overseas, there was no color barrier. He didn't see the discrimination, the hatred of black people until he came back home. When he came home, he went on to enroll at Alcorn College, now Alcorn State University in Lawrence, Mississippi, in 1948. And then he met his beautiful bride and married fellow student, Merle Beasley, during his senior year before graduating in 1952. When he got out of college, he was first an insurance salesman. Became involved in the Regional Council of Negro Leadership, the RCNL. Proving up the task in his experience as a civil rights organizer, he spearheaded groups boycott against gas stations that refused to let black people use the bathrooms. With his brother Charles Evers, also worked on behalf of the NAACP, organizing local affiliates. Evers applied to the University of Mississippi Law School in February 1954. After being rejected, he volunteered to help NAACP to try to integrate the university with a lawsuit. This is the history we need to speak on. No matter how big of an icon Medgar Evers was, at the time of his lawsuit, Thurgood Marshall served as his attorney for the legal challenge for racial discrimination. When he failed to gain admission to the law school, Evers managed to raise his profile with the NAACP. In May of 1954, the Supreme Court handed down its decision in the famous Brown versus Board of Education case. This decision legally ended segregation in schools, though it took many years for it to be fully implemented. In 1954, he became the first field secretary for the NAACP in Mississippi and moved his family to Jackson. As state field secretary, Evers traveled Mississippi extensively, recruiting new members for the NAACP, organizing voter registration efforts. Evers also led demonstrations economic boycotts of white-owned companies that practice discrimination. While a virtual unknown elsewhere, Evers was one of Mississippi's most prominent civil rights activists. He fought racial injustices in many forms, including how the state and local legal systems handled crimes against African Americans. Evers called for a new investigation into the 1955 lynching of Emmett Till, the 14-year-old African American boy who allegedly been killed for talking to a white woman. He also protested the conviction of his fellow Mississippi civil rights activist Clyde Kennard on theft charges in 1960. Evers' efforts made him a target for those who opposed racial equality and desegregation. He and his family were subject to numerous threats and violent actions, including firebombing of his house in May 1963, shortly before his assassination. We know that after effects of Mr. Evers' death, we know that he was killed in 1963, but it took till December of 1990 for the man to be again indicted for murder of Evers. After a number of appeals, Supreme Court finally ruled in favor of a third trial in 1993. February 1994, nearly 31 years after Evers' death, his killer was finally convicted and sentenced to life in prison. He died in 2001 at the age of 80. This is the history we have in this region. Mr. I'm calling him Mr. Evers, was fighting for equality in Mississippi during the time of the Great Migration. While other people saw discrimination and left the South to go to places like Detroit, Chicago, New York, Milwaukee, in the Midwest, he stayed, fought for all of us. Like I said, there is nothing I can say that will bring justice to the pillar this man has been for Black Americans. All I can do is hope that this humble video will spark Alcorn State University and others to re-examine, reproduce more on Mr. Medgar Wiley Evers. Because if we don't know our history, no one else will tell us. Coach Simmons, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.
In the fall of 1946, and with a growing awareness of civil inequities, Medgar Evers enrolled at the historically Black Alcorn A&M College. He finished high school there and then earned his bachelor's degree in business administration. He played football, ran track, and for 2 years edited the student newspaper. And he met the lovely young Merle Beasley from Vicksburg. They married on Christmas Eve, 1951.
Me and you, your mama and your cousin too.